talking about when it comes to 5v5 is the fact that the map is so much bigger. There are going to be 18 turrets on the map. That is 8 more than is currently in 3v3.
Yeah, 18 turrets plus these 3 inhibitor-like structures behind them as well. So there's 21 objectives. Actually, no, sorry, that would be 24 objectives just sitting on the map in the lanes for teams to try and take down. You can see a shot of what the new bases are going to look like a bit there.
That looks sick.
So sick. I cannot wait. There's so much standing gold available on the map. There's going to be so much more fighting.
So much more fighting and so much to take down as objectives. You get a lot more gold from each. I mean, you get the same. I would expect to get the same amount of gold from each turret, but at the same time, there are so many different turrets now that you can gain a lot more gold. And then only to get to the Vainglory, you got to take down so many more objectives. So a lot more that you have to work through.
Absolutely. Can't wait to... I mean, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more of an in-depth look at that map in a few minutes. But first, we've got to talk about how Fog of War is going to be a huge factor in 5v5 as well. In 3v3 right now, there is one way that you can be ganked. But in 5v5, there are a lot of ways into that mid lane.
Yeah, it's pretty much you can go from the bottom right now in 3v3. In 5v5, if you're in the mid lane, you can be attacked from all directions. It is going to be absolutely crazy, and the amount of vision that teams are going to need to invest in to be able to cover this amount of Fog of War and just try and figure out where your opponents are is going to be massive.
Yeah, I mean, the avenues that you can take to get a gank or just make any plays happen, there are so many more of them. And the vision. The vision is going to be so much more important because there's so much more information that you need to be feeding to your team. Munchables, you mentioned earlier, even carriers will probably start picking up more mines, more flares, just to have more vision and more information. It's already important enough in 3v3. It's going to be a lot more important in 5v5.
Yeah, there's just so much more map to cover with that vision. And when we mention that there's more map, there's more lanes in the map as well, which means we have to talk about the concept of split pushing.
Yeah, split pushing is one of the things I'm most excited about for the fact that you're going to be able to move around this map openly. You're going to be able to have one member go down. You see on this map, the picture here, you can have one member go down towards this blue lane while the rest of the team kind of puts pressure up on the orange and red lanes. And if you don't have someone who can 1v1 that member who's split pushing, you then have to send 2 people down there, and all of a sudden the opposing team now has a numbers advantage where they're pushing on the map. It really creates some interesting options as well as just wave management.
Right. I mean, split pushing is going to be just one of the so many different strategies that you're going to be seeing now in 5v5. You mentioned the wave management is going to be so important. Preparing your waves on all 3 lanes, if you're able to, before you go for an objective, before you go for a team fight, that will give you such a huge advantage because the waves will be pushing in as you're fighting your opponents. And then on top of that, you got things such as objective trading. If your opponent goes for one objective and you're behind, now you don't have to contest them. You can try instead to go for another objective all the way on the other side of the map. Such interesting dynamics that we can see.
Yeah, and speaking of the other side of the map, a larger map means mobility becomes so incredibly important now. We're going to get to take a look at another video here of focusing on this mobility. You can see that Catherine able to just make her way across the map, especially with Merciless Pursuit. And this, again, factors into also the amount of different angles you can come from.
Yeah.
You just move through this middle area of the map. You go through the jungle. There's 4 or 5 different openings that you can find to get in there. And so these heroes that have this extra mobility, they're going to be extremely highly contested once we get to 5v5.
Yeah, I mean, their ganking potential is going to be really high since they have the mobility. Gap closing abilities such as Glaive's Afterburn going to be so important for all of that. And then heroes such as Finn. In 3v3, they have their weaknesses, but they're not easily abused. I mean, just because of how strong they are in team fighting, you can utilize it a little bit. But in 5v5, because of the map being so much bigger, their mobility can hurt them a lot more. So going for a hero such as Finn, a hero with less mobility, has its trade-offs in 5v5.
Drafts and things are going to pan out once we get to 5v5. Now, I begged production to let me do a Telestrator segment on 5v5 because one thing that is going to be incredibly important is objective control. Now, you can see on the map, there are these 2 sections. These are classic MOBA neutral objectives. In League of Legends, you've got Baron and Dragon. In Dota, you've got Roshan. We don't know what they're going to be in Vainglory just yet. Could be Kraken, could be something new. There was a dragon on the splash art. But these 2 points are going to be highly contested. And one of the things that's really going to affect these points is your first turrets of the game. Now, at the start of the game, your line of control is where your turrets are. But once you lose these first 3 turrets, you're immediately losing control of your jungle. Your line of control at that point in the game falls back to your next turrets. And you can see how far that is to these objectives. So vision becomes incredibly important again. We've already been talking about vision, but being able to get scout traps around these objectives is going to be one of the most important things once you're beyond 15 minutes in the 5v5 game mode. There is so much to talk about in 5v5. I would love to just have a 10-minute segment with you guys in the telestrator right here. We don't have time. We have to get into the Vainglory 8. I cannot wait to see 5v5. Make sure to go and sign up. But before you do, make sure to watch the team fight.